In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. Peace and blessings be upon you, dear friends. Of Heartbeats for Allah. Today, the Muslim Ummah is enduring one of its most challenging periods. Acts of blasphemy against our beloved Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, and the desecration of the Holy Quran have tragically become frequent occurrences. These provocations are often carried out under the guise of freedom of expression, but in reality, they are deliberate attacks designed to harm the sentiments of Muslims worldwide. Such actions not only insult the values that Muslims hold sacred, but also create an atmosphere of division and hostility. Despite these offenses, there has been no significant effort from international organizations or governments to put an end to such hateful actions. This lack of response has emboldened perpetrators, enabling them to continue their offensive behavior without fear of consequence. Unfortunately, incidents like these have now begun to take place even in countries with Muslim-majority populations, further intensifying the anguish of the global Muslim community. One such heart-wrenching incident occurred recently in France, a country where tensions between secular values and religious sentiments have often flared. The rise of Islamophobia in France has been a recurring issue, with laws and actions frequently targeting Muslims and their practices. This particular event not only shocked the Muslim Ummah, but also demonstrated the miraculous nature of Allah's divine protection over His book, the Holy Quran. Allah Almighty reminds us in the Quran, "Indeed, we have sent down the Quran, and indeed, we will guard it." Surah Al-Hijr 15:9. This verse is a source of reassurance for Muslims, affirming that Allah Himself is the protector of His divine revelation. The miraculous fulfillment of this promise has strengthened the faith of believers throughout history, and this incident was another powerful example of Allah's intervention. It was a bright, clear morning in the heart of Paris. The city's streets were alive with tourists, locals, and vendors, as they are every day. The aroma of fresh bread from nearby boulangeries mixed with the vibrant energy of bustling cafes and street performers. Near a popular public square known for its vibrant atmosphere and frequent street performances, a mysterious figure appeared, capturing the attention of passers-by. His presence was unusual, to say the least, standing out starkly against the familiar sights of the city. The man was tall and powerfully built, with blonde hair and sharp, piercing blue eyes. His attire was peculiar, neither resembling the formal styles common in Paris, nor any recognizable traditional dress. His movements were calculated, almost mechanical, as though he were executing a well-rehearsed plan. 4 large, menacing dogs accompanied him, their leashes gripped tightly in his hands. Each dog exuded a sense of danger, their sharp teeth visible as they panted, watching the crowd with predatory eyes. Their aggressive postures added an air of intimidation to the already unsettling scene, drawing hesitant glances from onlookers. The man's demeanor was unsettling. He moved deliberately as if he had a specific goal. His sharp, scanning gaze seemed to assess the crowd, calculating their reactions and vulnerabilities. He carried a large bag and appeared to be surveying the crowd, his gaze cold and calculating. Gradually, a curious group began to gather around him, drawn by his enigmatic presence. Each step he took seemed to be part of a larger plan, as though he were preparing for a moment of shocking revelation. Without uttering a word, he reached into his bag and pulled out a box-like object. Raising it high above his head, he waved it in the air, ensuring that everyone could see. His movements were deliberate, almost theatrical, designed to draw maximum attention. The crowd, now larger and more intrigued, began murmuring among themselves. Some wondered if it was a part of an artistic performance or a protest. Others sensed that something was wrong, but hesitated to intervene, unsure of what was about to unfold. The man then pulled out a lighter, igniting the box with a swift motion. The flames quickly engulfed it, and he placed it on the ground, watching it burn with a sinister smile. His expression betrayed a sense of satisfaction, as though he had achieved a significant milestone in his mission. Yet as the flames consumed the outer box, a miraculous event occurred. The object inside remained completely untouched. The flames seemed to have no effect on the contents, defying all logic and expectation. The man bent down and retrieved the object from the ashes. To the horror of the onlookers, it was the Holy Quran. The realization sent a wave of shock and disbelief through the crowd. Holding it with blatant disrespect, he began waving it in the air as if mocking the sacred text. His actions were filled with contempt, as though he sought to demean not just the book, but the beliefs of every Muslim present. He gripped it in a manner that caused some pages to dangle loosely, fluttering in the breeze. The sight was unbearable for the Muslims present, as they recognized the desecration of what they held most sacred. But an inexplicable fear seemed to paralyze them, rooting them in place despite their anguish. An eyewitness, later recounting the incident, said, "When I saw the Quran being desecrated, my heart burned with anger and sorrow. I am not a perfect Muslim, but seeing the Holy Quran treated in such a manner was more than I could bear. I wanted to step forward, to stop this man and protect the Book of Allah, but my legs felt frozen. It was as if I had been gripped by an unseen force, preventing me from moving." Such was the psychological and emotional toll of witnessing this act of desecration. The sheer audacity of the man's actions left the crowd in stunned silence, grappling with feelings of helplessness and outrage. Emboldened by the crowd's inaction, the man pulled a small bottle from his bag. He poured its contents over the Quran and tried to ignite it once more. His intent was clear: to completely destroy the sacred text in full view of the public. However, despite his efforts, the flames refused to consume the sacred text. The fire, which had moments ago devoured the box, now seemed powerless against the Quran. The crowd watched in astonishment as the fire extinguished itself, leaving the pages of the Quran untouched. This was a clear sign of divine intervention, a reminder that the protection of the Quran lies solely with Allah Almighty. The man's arrogance began to falter. His smug expression gave way to visible frustration and disbelief. Suddenly, one of his dogs lunged forward, causing him to lose his balance. The force of the sudden movement disrupted his composure, and he stumbled backward into a nearby fountain, splashing into the water with a loud crash. The Quran slipped from his grasp and landed safely on a stall adorned with flowers, as if placed there with divine precision. The act was so sudden and unexpected that it left the man visibly shaken, struggling to make sense of what had just happened. The commotion seemed to awaken the crowd from their paralysis. Muslims rushed forward to retrieve the Quran, holding it with the utmost reverence. The sight of the sacred book unharmed brought tears to their eyes and renewed their faith in Allah's promise. Others confronted the man, ensuring that he could no longer continue his vile act. Even non-Muslims present in the crowd were moved by the miraculous preservation of the Quran. One elderly woman, visibly shaken, remarked, "This must be a sign from God. How else can one explain why the Quran remains unharmed?" Upon inspecting the Quran, the crowd discovered yet another miracle. While the outer cover appeared genuine, the inner pages were blank, completely devoid of text. This revelation deepened the awe of the onlookers and silenced any doubts about the divine nature of the event. It was a moment of collective reflection for everyone present, reminding them of the Quran's sacredness and its place as the ultimate guidance for humanity.